Today we are taking apart a bicycle hub. Sorry about that crunching sound, that's my chair being all wobbly and crunchy. It's actually very sturdy, but it's kind of crunchy. Anyway, I'm currently taking apart this hub, and I've already taken apart the jam nut because that was a pain in the ass. Because anybody that knows what a jam nut is knows that if they've been sitting for a while, they're basically glued together and they're gonna be a pain in the ass to get apart if you don't have the proper tool. And I was actually missing a proper tool to grab one of them, which is a 15 mil solid wrench. Like, you know, yeah, I'm gonna show one off here soon. I'm gonna point it out when I do. Anyway, I was missing that tool, so it was hard for me to take it apart, and as such I did that off camera, just so I'd get a head start and just be able to do a lot less video editing. So I didn't have like a 15 gig file to deal with. There you go, there's one of those. Except 15 millimeters, that one was 13, and that was all I had at the time. Along with, I had a 14, 17, but I didn't have 15 or 16. So I couldn't really do that. And I'm actually making this video because Rinoa Super Genius recently made a video where he rebuilt a bike they got from like his grandpa or great grandpa, I'm not sure, I think it was his grandpa. Anyway, that bike it looked awesome, and when he rebuilt it, it was fucking amazing. So yeah, and I actually like started a little conversation with him because he was complaining that the rear tires or rear wheels were all rattly and kind of loose. So I started a bit of a conversation with him, and I figured I'd make a video of this. Just because, well, you know, it could be handy for those of you that haven't really seen what a single-speed hub looks like on the inside, and see how to take care of it, how to maintain it, how to repair it. And here I'm basically just cleaning up the parts, and yeah, everything in here like is covered in grease. Like everything is covered in graphite lithium grease. Because of my weight, I actually have to really watch everything I use to travel or to transport myself. Now I can move, I can run, I can jump, I can sprint. I'm not slow by any means, but still, I have to kind of watch anything I use as transport. If I had a motorcycle, I'd have to constantly check that fucking thing's bearings. So that's why I'm using a bike mostly, because a motorcycle is just too expensive to deal with. Fuck those things. This bike I can repair for cheap. I can buy a new one for cheap if I need to. But I haven't had to. It's been running for 2 years and I like it. So the graphite grease is basically what I've been dealing with. Now I'm gonna continue this audio clip in a couple minutes, but you're gonna get a thorough explanation of how the internals work here. Ciao. Here we have the different components. I told you we're gonna get a closer look at them. Now what we have here is the main shaft, and this is the brake side of it, the brake side of deals. I can't take this apart any further. Well, I can, and I have in the past, but I really don't want to right now. I think there's something going on here, something's really funky. Oh yeah, that's screwed on. Right, I don't want to touch that. That doesn't really matter if I touch it or not, but still, I don't want to touch it because, you know, reasons. I don't want to touch it in case it screws something up. But basically what we have here is a little shaft holder here where we have a bearing. That's one of the two main bearings. And we have this little machined locking dog thing. Basically what this is the arm that locks to your frame. And it's connected to this, which engages these little pads, which are not well, they're not a sintered material, believe it or not. And, well, they don't look sintered, at least. They look like they've been pressed. And then, it looks like they have big cylinders of this that were like pressed, and then they just cut them apart with like some sort of a circular saw, because I can see circular saw marks there. Maybe they just did cylinders and got thirds. Because, yeah, they did cylinders and got thirds out of this. For whatever reason. Don't know why. Anyway, so what we have here is dogs that fit on here, pads that fit in between these little dogs here. And they lock in between there. Now we have one on each side, and that was this, right, that goes in that direction, and there we go. And then on that we have boop, and then on that we have boop. So that's how the assembly sits, and that's the brake assembly. Now we also want to see this thing. This is how the entire thing fits in there. So when this thing goes in, it pushes in, and as it goes in, it will pull that thing out. Now that disengages the brake pads. Now when it goes like that, it'll push that in. And look what it does to the brake pads. It spreads them. Oh well. Yeah, it spreads them. Pushing them up against the sides of the drum. Now trust me, these hubs, or hubs here, these hubs get extremely hot. Just trust me on that. It's so hot it's uncomfortable. That's why I have this kind of grease in them. That's why I have this kind of grease in mine, and also that of one of my friends, because this is high temperature, high pressure graphite grease, or graphite lithium grease, so it can handle this sort of crap. It can handle people that are overweight like me. I don't want the grease being the first thing to crap out, which, by the way, it already had when I pulled this thing apart first. It had gone from being a thick and viscous lubricant grease to just being a, well, more like an oil, honestly. And there was basically none of it left in here. In here, most of it had already leaked out, so I was kind of scared to see how last minute I was with that. But that's something I can recommend you do. Like, first thing, no, I had my bike for like 6 months before I took this thing apart. And yeah, I can recommend that you do this as fast as possible. Take this apart and place the grease. Now here we can see something interesting. We have the main bearing running on here, running on the sprocket. Well, in this case, there's a hub piece here, but it's soldered to the sprocket on this because, you know, I told you it broke. And in this center, it looks like there's supposed to be a bearing there. Well, yeah, there is. There you go. And then, there's this little nut thing with another race. It goes in the center there. That's the shaft. That's where the shaft screws in. So this is simple. Very, very simple. Very, extremely simple. When I found out how these work, it's just, I was amazed how simple they were. Now you may think that, well, why were you so amazed? Well, think about it. These days, everything is built to be so complex that it can't be used or serviced. And quite frankly, it's very common for companies to over-engineer things. Alright, I'm currently reassembling the hub, as you may see. And the end of the clip, like, you know, I edited the previous video clip, like, quite heavily. Sped it up a little bit so that the explanation would be over within 10 minutes, as I believe it was like 10 minutes long, like, to begin with. Or like almost somewhere in that region. I don't really, how long is the clip? It's 3 minutes, yes, I cut it down by 1, I sped it up by 1.5. So, 1.5 times speed, so it's a little bit faster and I sound like a complete weird thing, I sound weird. Anyway, I'm currently reassembling the hub and I am putting fresh grease on, or I have already done so that I put fresh grease on everything. I did so in a piece of video, no, I'm currently putting fresh grease on everything. I'm using a little file to smear grease on things. I have mentioned the graphite lithium grease earlier, and I'm using that simply because it was the, according to the store owner, and from what I've read, the best grease I could get for cheap. Now there is clearly better grease like molybdenum disulfide and such, but I really don't have the budget for that, and it was really not available at the local hardware store, and I kinda needed it like now, not in like 2 weeks, so I didn't feel like ordering it. And you may notice that I'm smearing the brake pads with grease. Yeah, this entire thing is flooded with grease, so the brake pads being covered in grease not gonna make a lick of difference. It was flooded with grease when I started this process earlier and when I did it like last year, so not gonna make a lick of difference that that's coated in grease. The brakes work just fine anyway. It's a matter of pressure, really. If you apply enough pressure to it, it really doesn't matter what you do with it, and it's just you'll be able to brake anyway. I do have front brakes on this bike, but I really don't like using them. I like using the rear brakes more, especially since I can just do that with my feet. Now, that's a lot harder recently since I kind of screwed up my leg, but on my foot, oh god, that ass crack. Yeah. Now, as you're noticing, I'm having shitloads of troubles with this. Getting this thing adjusted is a pain in the ass without the proper tool, as I mentioned in the previous clip. Audio clip, that is. I mentioned that I didn't have the proper 15mm wrench, and yeah, that's, oh, for fuck's sake, stop showing your goddamn ass crack. Anyway, this is the result of that, taking an assload of time to adjust, and I ended up having to use a pair of pliers in order to adjust this thing, and even then, the adjustment is decent at best. If I had the proper wrench, which I'll probably invest in, I could probably have just done this in 5 minutes. I could probably have gotten the adjustment done in like 5-6 minutes maybe, but I spent a good 20 on this, trying to get this right. The thing is, if you get it too tight, sure, you don't end up with any gap or any wobble in your wheel, but you need a little bit. And granted, we're not talking much. We're talking like a tenth of a millimeter at the output, or like at the edge of the wheel. Anyway, you need a little bit of wobble so that the thing spins freely and doesn't bind up when you brake and, like, you know, pedal forward. But you don't want so much that the wheel starts wobbling, obviously, because then, you know, you end up with a wobbly wheel. And as you can see, I probably mentioned this earlier, but I have studded tires. I might try to make those in another video, like someday soon. And when the video ends, like right now, I'm going to add a picture of a cat of some sort, and I'm going to keep it there till whatever the end of this audio clip is. Now, in the future, you have seen during that last clip, video clip that is, you saw a little orange-black thing in the background. For the observant amongst you, that would have been recognized as a cannibalized RC car. I have it right here next to me, and the thing is in the exact same state as this is recorded the same evening as I filmed this. And I'm gonna keep working on this a little bit tonight, as I don't really have much. I can't do much. I can't get to sleep early enough for my driving lesson tomorrow anyway. So yeah. Woo. Yay for problem sleeping. Or yay for fucked up sleep schedules and not being as lucky as my mother, who literally just lays her head on the pillow, closes her eyes, and kaboom, to bed. Assuming she doesn't have like a headache, that's basically how she sleeps. Head on pillow, kaboom, sleeping. Me, on the other hand, is head on pillow, thinking about everything from nuclear physics to fucking video games for like the next hour and a half, and then like maybe sleep. Or maybe some more video games, or maybe porn. It doesn't really matter what comes next. I always lie awake for fucking eternity, and I hate it. If I'm lucky, I might get like 4 hours of sleep tonight. Maybe not. Maybe I don't even care. Actually, I'm gonna have to get some sleep. Yeah, I have a driving class tomorrow. Anyway, I have a driving class at 7:40 in the morning. Yay! For some of you, that's nothing, but for me, that literally don't have anything to do. Normally, yeah, it was actually moved early. It was actually pushed backwards. I was supposed to have it at 8:30, but ended up at 7:40 because there was something about something and something else. Now, yeah, that's about it. I got a little drone for Christmas, so I might actually end up showing that in a future video. Probably the same video as I showed the RC car in, probably. I'm gonna do some work on that too. Well, actually, I'm gonna do that tomorrow. I'm gonna be too tired to do that tonight, and yeah, I'm actually gonna do a little bit of filming tomorrow as well, because other than the RC car, because I'm gonna have to go with my mother to our hardware store and pick up or a car supply store and pick up a muffler for the car, along with a couple of fittings, because the exhaust is completely rotted out. Well, not completely. Most of it's been replaced by me already. I have rebuilt half the exhaust system this summer, but not thinking about the fact that the other half was 3 years old, and that might not sound like much, but when you live in this fucking country, live where we do, 3 years is a long time for an exhaust pipe. Like, if you don't have stainless here, rot and like everything is fucking Satan, man. There's so much salt in the air that fucking exhaust pipes they just rot out immediately. The moment they sit for like a day and a half, they start rusting. It's like they don't even have to be wet. It doesn't even have to be humid. It can be midsummer and it still rusts. Air is humid as fuck and it's salty as balls. Everything rusts here, like extremely quickly. And by the way, if you think that if you got like rust in your storage drawer, for like bolts and nuts and shit, don't bother throwing them out. Trust me, the rust's just gonna come back anyway, because you know every piece is individually affected by rust. It's not actually something that really spreads. Unless we're talking about really big pieces of metal, rust doesn't actually spread the way some people think it does. It just sort of pops up. It's just a piece of metal that decided to oxidate a little bit faster than the rest of the piece. And if you've got a galvanized piece, it's an imperfection in the galvanization, like, you know, the zinc coating. If you've got a chrome piece, it's an imperfection in the zinc, causing the imperfection in the chrome, causing the steel beneath to rust. It's a pain in the ass, but it happens. Now, ironically enough, you can't see any rust on the parts inside of this hub, but that's just a good thing, because they've been literally floating in grease for the past 2 years, so yeah. Anyway, more on that exhaust tube tomorrow. I'll take some photos, some video. I actually spent a good portion of today, most of it, building a new exhaust pipe, because our old muffler fell apart. There was some rattling from it, so I was like, actually no, I'm gonna go over this tomorrow. Well, good night.